What was
Um,
can you describe what your experience, how old were you, first of all, how old were you when you first went to prison?
I guess I was 32, maybe. So this is so it must have been
32?
2012. So 10 years. No, I must have been 30.
And you
2012. Yeah, I
said,
was 30.
that they sent you to the special housing unit, the SHU, also
Couple
known as
times.
solitary confinement, for like six
Yeah.
months for,
All together, I was in there for a couple of 2 month stints, and then like 3 or 4 like weeks, 1 or 2 weeks, for different things, including investigations, uh, an investigation into my involvement in a what do they term it? It was not an incident. It wasn't a riot. It was a disturbance, whereby a number of us uh, refused to go back to our cells for lockdown until a certain officer was removed from our unit and not brought back. This officer had threatened an old man, and the different races got together, and the gang got together and said, yeah, we don't like this. We're on guard on that. So we had a standoff, and me and a few others were identified by them as the ringleaders, and so held for 2 months in the SHU, and then released with our commissary things were told. The punishment, of course, was being held in the SHU. Uh, and then another incident where they kind of found morphine in my bloodstream when they gave me a random drug test and all that, and I went to SHU again. And then they transferred me. Another incident where they
they
found
found
hooch in my
morphine in
locker.
your bloodstream?
Yeah, this
Was
is a
that
prison, dude.
smuggled in?
I mean, well, in this case, this was, I mean, morphine. So there's a medical unit.
Oh, okay. You
The
got
place
it
I
from
was at
them.
was a low security prison in Fort Worth. I was at. It was terrible, disgusting little prison. Anyway, and there's a medical unit, so a lot of the diseased, dying older inmates and all that. Uh, and there's people who work in the medical unit, and there's morphine and other painkillers, and those morphine and painkillers make their way out of that area and back to those of us who will buy them. And yeah, then they take my blood, and I had morphine. And then another time, this is actually captured. There's a short documentary you can see on YouTube called "Relatively Free" that Alex Winter did.
Yeah, I
Back
saw
from
that.
Yeah, and at the beginning, I'm pulled off the phone for talking to him, and put in the SHU for 2 weeks, and other similar incidents. And oh yeah, no, I was doing an interview with a reporter in Houston, and again pulled off while they investigated to see if that was against the rules, which of course it wasn't. Blah blah blah. So yeah, I did 6 months altogether, but usually not in solitary. There's too much overcrowding for that. Uh, you almost always have a cellmate in the SHU.
Oh,
So
really?
it's just you and some guy, yeah, you and some guy living together in a small room about this size for month, 2 months longer.
Yeah, and that was the documentary when where they basically they pick you, your parents picked you up and you're riding in the
Parents
car.
and Alex Winter and the film crew. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
and we had to
was
drive to Dallas. We had a few hours to get there. Otherwise, I'd be listed as, because they estimate how long it should take to get there. First estimate they gave me was it should take 2.5 hours. Uh, that was incorrect. It actually takes 5 hours to drive from them. So they were trying to, yeah, and so I had to go through the whole thing with them before my release and be like, no, that's not. We're not set to that. If you put that down as 2 hours, I'm gonna go ahead and anyway. So they allotted us 6 hours, but we still had to get there in time. We'd arrive at the halfway house in time, or I'd be listed as an escapee, you know, and
they
charged
don't
again.
make it easy for people who get out of prison to get back on their feet,
They
do
make it
they?
especially hard for certain of us. I mean, there's some they don't. Again, there's a reason I got 6 months. I got 6 months halfway house, which is much more than most inmates get. And the reason for that is the same reason that one prison kicked me out of the prison, sent me to another prison. Same reason that prison also tried to kick me out to another prison. The BP wouldn't allow it, and it's the same reason, because they don't want me there because I'm writing about the prison and starting up trouble. So for me, I got to that's why I got 6 months of halfway house, because I was, they wanted me out of there. They were which I understand. I'm an investigative journalist, an anarchist, agitator. I'm in the middle of their prison. Some of the guards are talking to me about their superiors they don't like.
Yeah.
And so on and so forth. So
Do you think you'd be in as extreme in your way of going about your work if you hadn't gone to prison in the first place? Do you think going
yes,
to prison for 4 years changed your outlook at all, or changed you at all in any way?
Remember, I talked like this the years before I went to prison. It's part of why I went to prison, because I was identified by a number of the adversaries, and sometimes we have leaks in which they're talking about this, whether it be Aaron Barr, some degree Mueller, who bragged about his involvement in the Stratford operation that the FBI led, and that led to me and others being in prison. I was identified, and there's no way of saying this without bragging, as a very severe potential threat, given my uh, high penchant for risk, given my ability to uh, gain power within organizations like Anonymous, and given a number of other elements. So, and again, I was, yes, I was a militant before I went to prison, and I actually relaxed a bit in prison. Well, I got out of prison, and I started learning more about who in the press was involved in strangling in the crib, the results of our research and of our leaks and so forth, and how many of them had risen up to the New York Times, New Yorker, so forth, and learn more about who would stab us in the back within our own groups, and all that. That's when I really went off the rails. And I've calmed down since then, for the last year or so, because I now things have been set in motion, that are going to ensure that no one else is going to have to go through this again.
Can you describe what your experience, how old were you, first of all, how old were you when you first went to prison?
I guess I was 32, maybe. So this is
32?
2012. So 10 years. No, I must have been 30.
And you
I was 30.
And you said that they sent you to the special housing unit, the SHU, also known as solitary confinement, for like 6 months.
Yeah.
For
altogether, I was in there for a couple of 2-month stints, and then like 3 or 4 weeks, one or 2 weeks, for different things, including investigations, an investigation into my involvement in a what do they term it? It was not an incident. It wasn't a riot. It was a disturbance, whereby a number of us refused to go back to our cells for lockdown until a certain officer was removed from our unit and not brought back. This officer had threatened an old man, and the different races got together, and the gang